Now, joy is one of the most important things that you can have in your life. Sadly, we don't give ourselves enough joy. Funny, the other day I bumped into somebody and I said, "Oh, whenever I see you, it's just such a joy." And she said, "Well, that's funny because my middle name's Joy." And I just thought that's so gorgeous. Look, joy is so important to us. Joy comes when we laugh with friends, particularly when we see something funny. A great thing to do to get a bit of joy is just watch something funny. It's there when we do cool things, we do fun things for each other. Joy comes from doing things that we love doing. You might love cooking, I love painting. So if I'm painting, I get a great deal of joy out of that. You might love gardening. It could be anything at all that you love doing. So do things that give you joy. Spend time with people who give you joy. And it's not always about being with somebody who's going to make you laugh and going to, is the most fun at the party. It's about people who add to your life and give you more, so that when you walk away from them, you feel enriched by having been with them. They're the people who give you joy. So hang out with those people. Conversely, identify the people who aren't giving you joy. We all have them. Some of them we're related to, some of them we're married to. So sometimes it's not as easy as not hanging out with them. But you know what I've done in that situation? The people who weren't giving me joy, I've kind of let them know and had that conversation with them and said, "Look, I'm feeling this way. When you do this, it really sort of brings me down, and I just want to be in a happier place. So can you be just mindful of that?" Sometimes it's a tough conversation to have, but a lot of people don't understand the negative impact that they can have. They just sort of go off on a tangent and they take your joy. They put this big black blanket over you without necessarily realizing it. So sometimes you just need to call it out and just say, "Look, it's just not good for me." And even say to them, "Look, I'm doing the butterfly plan. I've got to be really positive and fill myself with joy. So every time you're kind of negative or you're bringing me down a little bit, it's not helping. I don't know, blame me. But try and eliminate the time you spend with people who don't give you joy. And if they're really not, and you can't avoid being with them, like a boss or somebody, or if you're my daughter, your mother, then try and think to yourself, okay, they're not really giving me joy, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to surround myself with almost a cloak of superpower, so that even when they are being negative, they're not going to bring me down with them. So think about that. Try and live as positively as you can. A lot of the stuff that I do really talks about living above and below the line. I often do talk about superpowers and the superpower that we have. The one way to really reach your potential and to really find your superpower is to live above the line. So above the line is positivity. That's where all the butterflies play, up there. That's where we want to go. It's positivity, it's gratitude, it's happiness, it's joy, it's giving, it's sharing, it's celebrating others. It's all of those beautiful things up there. Down below the line are the things like regret, depression, sorrow, anger, nastiness, resentment. All of those things are down below the line. The things below the line don't serve you. They don't add to your life, and they certainly will not ever bring you joy. So try and keep yourself above the line, because that's where the joy is. That's where the magic is. That's where the butterflies are. So keep yourself, whenever you can, above the line. And if you see yourself dipping below the line, stop yourself and say, no, that's not going to serve me, and it's not where I want to be. Really good example, it's a constant struggle for me. It's a constant struggle for anybody to be above the line. But a really good example is, you get with some people, friends, and you start sort of snipping about other people. Oh, look at what she's wearing, or what she's doing, or those people are always travelling overseas. Oh my God, all of that's below the line. We know it's below the line. We know it's not nice. And it doesn't serve us. It actually makes us feel worse. It does not give us joy. Bitching or snipping or sniping or whatever doesn't give us joy. Imagine if we all decided, no, we're going to stay up there with the butterflies. Imagine how much happier we would all be, and then how that energy would go out and make everyone happy. Well, that's one of the things about joy. If you can live it and give it to yourself, it's like a radiating energy that then goes to everybody around you. And another part of that is giving. Give where you can. It might be pay for the person's coffee who's coming after you through the drive-through. It might be just giving a compliment. It might be donating money. It might be donating time. It might be helping an old lady in the supermarket reach for something. It could be anything. But when you do it, what that gives to you is beyond words. It gives so much more for you than it will for the person that you're doing it for. They'll appreciate it, but most importantly, you will get so much from it. It's such a great thing to do. There's heaps of research around why giving is so important, and I just Google it, get into it. It's a wonderful thing to do. So if you can, do it whenever you can. That's all about joy. Be kind to yourself. It doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook. It doesn't mean, I can have the glass of wine because I'm being kind to myself. No, that's the 3-year-old. When I mean be kind to yourself, just know that some days are going to be easier than others. And some days maybe you won't have as good a day, but you pick yourself up and you move on. You do have to follow this plan. If you don't, then you're not going to achieve the outcomes that you want. But if you do fall off the plan a little bit, take responsibility for that and own it. And that doesn't mean, I'm owning it, so I'm having a glass of wine. It doesn't mean that at all. That's your 3-year-old again. What it means is, okay, I had a pretty bad day, had the glass of wine, wish I hadn't. I'm not going to feel guilt and regret because that's down below the line, but what I am going to do is be proactive, and I'm going to jump back on this horse, and I am going to, the next few days I'm going to be great, and I'll make up for the fact that I had the glass of wine by going for an extra walk this week, or maybe dropping my calories down a little bit to sort of make amends for my body and for me. Remember, the only person you actually would let down is yourself. So therefore, if you do have one of those moments, own it, but be kind to yourself and move on proactively. That's what's important.